On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Nate Robson about being a PPV Rising Star and why big goals get him going. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is not only a rock star, but a rising star. Nate Robson, Director of Promotional Sales from Raining Rose, is joining me today. Nate, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, you bet. My pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's jump right into that rising star thing. You were recently named a PPV Rising Star, so congrats.
Thank you.
I'm sure that was an honor. So can you tell me, I know you have to go to an event and that whole thing. Can you tell me about what that experience was like?
Well, the experience itself was awesome. I think, you look at PPAI, they do just a tremendous job with the recognition itself, and they promote the event like no other. So I'm getting a lot of high fives and attaboys from industry people, from people outside the industry, and, all that. Feels really good.
Yeah.
So all that's exciting. The event itself, it's built around the NALC event, and I just get so much out of that event. I think it's one of the best events that the industry puts on, and so to put it with the NALC event, I think is the right place to do it, and it's just phenomenal. Just love the experience.
Yeah, and so I like the idea that you put the rising stars of the industry with sort of the established stars in the industry, if you will, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of the rising stars who are just kind of getting their feet in the industry, making an impact. What a great platform to go and shake hands and talk and conversate with, to your point, some of the established stars. And like I said, the value you get from those interactions and the conversations, they're tremendous. And so I think I don't know how they would improve the event. I mean, if they ask me what they could do better, I don't know if they can. I mean, it's just a phenomenal event and a phenomenal experience. The only thing missing is I wish I had my whole team up there standing on the stage with me, because whatever success that I've had or Raining Rose has had, it really, a lot of credit goes to the incredible team that I'm surrounded with here at Raining Rose. And so I wish they could get the kudos. I'm the lucky one to be in a position to kind of be the face, but a lot of credit goes to them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, buddy. So, you're director of sales, right? A director of promotional sales, and you said before we got started that you've had 3 good quarters so far. So, what do you think the biggest part of growing the business at Raining Rose has been?
It's a good question, and one I ask often, because I want to capture it and harness it. But I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. And if I had to pull it together and articulate it more of a general sense, I think one thing that we've been able to do really well is evolve. And I think things are changing so fast, and not evolve in the sense of changing our mission or who we are, but evolving in how we deliver value to our customers, and not having any sacred cows of holding on to certain processes that aren't adding value, and really trying to be on the forefront of understanding what the true needs are, and then being the best partner to satisfy those needs. And so I look at what we were doing 6 years ago, and that's when I came on board here, and I compare that to what we're doing today, and it is dramatically different in terms of how we operate. And all that's been iterative over time, but when you look back and you see the changes, it's been monumental. And I think I send the message to my team, what you're doing today will not be what you're doing 3 years from now. And if you are, that's a scary thing, because it probably means we're no longer relevant, or at least not growing. And so, I put that message out there, and I think for some people that can be paralyzing, because it's like, oh my God, job security, what am I going to be doing? And so how do we get beyond that being paralyzing? And I think I challenge our team to think about, based on the skills that I have and the talents that I bring to the table, how can I continue to contribute and add maximum value? And if I focus on those things day in and day out, I don't worry about what my role looks like. I'm really creating my role going forward, and thinking about how I'm going to add value in the future. And that's the philosophy that we try to embrace as a team. And I think that'll pay off. As quickly as things are changing, you've almost got to be in that mindset if you're going to stay ahead of things and continue to be relevant. So I would point to that. The second thing is, I think our mindset, we kind of have the Munchkin boat crew mindset. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but
educate me.
Well, Admiral McCraven, I believe is his name, just is a YouTube video out there of him giving an address to a university, and he's a SEAL, and he talks about his SEAL training. And one of his stories is talking about how his SEAL class is divided into different groups, and there was one group that they refer to as the Munchkin boat crew. They were diminutive in comparison to the other SEALs, and just made up of a very diverse group. But he said, it was that group that outswam, outpaddled, outran, outperformed in every sense of the word all the other groups. And his point of the story was that SEAL training is a great equalizer, right? And the only thing that really mattered was their will to succeed. And I think in business today, for small businesses like us, I still consider us a small business, there's a lot of great equalizers, whether you're talking about the internet, the tools, the resources, social platforms. And I think an underestimated strategy is being willing to outwork, out-hustle, out-effort, and develop the will. And I think that is the mindset that, we're not there 100% of the time, but we certainly made a lot of progress in that direction, and I think it's been impactful. So we have the Munchkin boat crew mindset, and I think that's another driver of growth.
That's really good. It's funny, as you were first saying, talking about this, you're like, what reminded me is, I think sometimes we get romantic about the what of what we do, and we need to get romantic about the why, not romantic about how, right?
Absolutely.
So that's really good, and I love the Munchkin. That's good. I love it.
I've always considered myself a little bit of a Munchkin. I'm on the shorter end of the scale, so that fits really well with me.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog.
That's right.
All right. So speaking of fights, I guess. So I read that you were training with the idea of becoming an American Ninja Warrior. Wow, that's something. So why do you think goals like that outside of business are important?
Well, I think, to me, I don't know if it's necessarily important that they're outside of business or inside of what you do, as much as it is that you set goals and aspirations around things that light your fire. I mean, for me, it gets me going. Ever since I was little, I was the one who said always, I'm going to be a professional athlete. And athletics and competition have always been a part of my life. And I continue to make them a part of my life, because when they are, I'm a better person. I've got more energy, I'm more disciplined, and I'm just happier going after things like that. And so to me, it's whatever lights your fire, making sure you continually look out the windshield instead of the rear view mirror, and think about what's next with those things, and what's the next challenge, what's the next adventure. And so that's what it is for me. And it actually, goals like that for me impact all areas of my life. Like I said, if I didn't have that out there, I suffer. My discipline suffers. My energy suffers. And those sort of things happen. So I think the important thing is find what is a good word is purpose. What gives you purpose and really lights your fire. That was a speaker mentioned that at the NALC event, and I thought that was right on. Find your purpose, and that is the new P of marketing. But for me, that's where a lot of my goals and aspirations start. Is what is the purpose? What's going to get me going? What puts fuel in the tank? And so that's what I would encourage people to do. That's what I think is important. Fundamentally, understand what fuels your fire, and then set some high aspirations around that.
That's great advice. I feel like we're kindred spirits, my man. So that's exciting to me. So you've answered my 3 questions. Now I give you the chance to ask me one. Do you have one for me?
Absolutely. All right. So you've been in this industry for a while now. You've had a distributor for several years. After all of these years, what is the one thing, the first thing, the one thing that comes to your mind when you think about it that suppliers just don't get when it comes to a distributor, when it comes to you?
Wow, that's a good one. So right away, I think that the first thing that pops into my mind is that the best suppliers are really good suppliers think of, say, distributor as the customer, right? And that's great. I said, but the best suppliers think of the end user and the customer experience that they're going to have. And so what I mean by that is there are so many things that, I'll give you a very specific example, is when the distributor gets charged to have an exact quantity match, right? And I get it, right? From a manufacturer's perspective, it makes sense, but the end user does not get that at all. And so from a distributor perspective, I'm like, well, I just got to eat that, because if they order something from Amazon, they don't have to pay extra to get 2 shoes. They just get what they want. And so I think many, and I shouldn't say most, but a lot of suppliers struggle with the idea, yes, I'm the customer, but ultimately the end user is a customer for both of us, and we need to look at it as a partnership that makes sense to them, not so much to me and you. So,
yeah, love it. Like it.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Well, cool, man. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. We definitely have to do this again, okay?
Absolutely.
Cool.
This was fun.
Cool. Well, that wraps up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.